What's up, everybody? This is Julie with another episode of My Favorite Episode. Today, I have Joe from Fright School. Hi, Joe. Thanks for joining.
Hi, Julie. Thanks for having me.
Of
It's nice to talk about something
course.
that's not a horror film.
Yeah, so fun fact about me and Joe, we both don't like scary movies, shows, really anything. Even that like creepy music where you hear like that suspense that someone's coming, that probably scares us both. So, yeah, but Joe, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about your podcast before we get into the episode? Because I actually am very amused by what you do. It's amazing.
Oh, sure. So, Fright School is a podcast that I've been doing for a few years now with my friend Joshua. And basically, the concept of our show is that about 4 years ago, I was going to Joshua's house to watch American Horror Story. And he would say, like, oh, isn't this cool how Ryan Murphy referenced this movie or that movie? And I'd be like, great. I have no idea what you're talking about because I've like never seen any of the any of the classic like horror films, and Joshua just couldn't abide that, so he created a list of movies that are like foundational and in American horror, and then from there that was our first season. And so basically, I watch a horror film that I've never seen before. And we talk about its cultural, social significance, and sometimes there is sometimes there's not. But yeah, and I have to say that 4 years in, I'm pretty. I like horror, but not not a full fan yet because I try to still distance myself. I mean,
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
uh,
I watch American Horror Story too because my fiance loves it.
mhm.
But I'm covering my face 90% of the time.
See, I find that it's better to watch it when you have a group of people, and that's the only reason why I started going to those viewing parties anyway,
Yeah.
is because I was not going to watch it by myself.
Oh, yeah. No, I wouldn't watch any scary movie by myself. I told you I watched The Haunting on Hill House at 9 o'clock in the morning because I was scared to
Yeah,
death and I needed sunlight.
yeah, just like bright daylight,
Yeah,
back to the
exactly.
door. Yeah.
Exactly. So, I think that sounds like an awesome podcast. So, everyone listening, please check it out. I know I'm going to start checking it out. And you
Thank
should
you.
follow me because where you lead, I will follow.
That's
Foreshadow for
true. That's
today's
true.
episode. So, on today's episode, we are going to be talking about Gilmore Girls Season 2, Episode 10, The Bracebridge Dinner.
Yes.
So,
Very excited.
I want to know a little bit about the show because I'm going to be honest. I've never full out watched Gilmore Girls. Gilmore Girls was more for me like when I stayed home sick. It was always on ABC Family
Yep.
reruns throughout the day. So between that and like Jerry Springer, I was like that was my stay home from school sick day. But I really don't know much about the show. Like I know Rory and Lorelai, obviously, because they're the two main characters, but I really don't know the gist of the show. So can you start out by just like summarizing what the show's about, basically?
Of course. So the Gilmore Girls is this warm blanket of a show. Basically, it's about a woman named Lorelai Gilmore who comes from money. Her parents are very wealthy, patrician, old money Connecticut people. And when she was 16, she got pregnant, and she never really quite fit into her parents' world, so she left and never came back. Had her daughter on her own, raised her daughter in a small town in Connecticut called Stars Hollow. And basically, the show is about her. Takes place 16 years later. So Rory, her daughter, whose the real name is Lorelai. Actually, she named her after herself,
Oh, okay.
but they call her Rory. And she basically the show starts with her in high school trying to go to a really fancy prep school that Lorelai has no money for, and then that's how she gets back into her parents' life because she borrows the money from her parents.
Okay.
And so that's basically what happens for most of season one, is just kind of navigating navigating the relationship of the between Lorelai's parents and her, and how Now she had spent a lot of time trying to get away from that world, and now she's back in it. And Rory, who's exceptionally bright. That's the other thing about Rory is that she's supposed to be really smart and deserves to go to Harvard, which is the whole reason why they're going to the fancy prep schools, because it's her dream to go to an Ivy League. So, but that's basically it. Is the Gilmore Girls are both Lorelai and Rory, but it's also Emily, and the relationship between the three ladies and how that all works out.
Emily's Lorelai's mom.
Emily is Lorelai's mom,
Okay.
played by the amazing Kelly Bishop, who won a Tony for her portrayal of, I forget the character, but she won a Tony for a chorus line. So I'm just going to throw that out there.
Fun fact.
Because, fun fact, she was also in Saturday Night Fever with John Travolta.
Okay, so she's like doing the damn thing.
Exactly. So, she later went on to do Bunheads with Sutton Foster, Amy Sherman Palladino's show right after Gilmore Girls. And she played like a dance instructor, which is totally up her alley because she was a dancer. But
can you imagine?
I know a little bit too much about this show, so
it's okay. I'm just thinking about like being in a movie with John Travolta in like that long ago, and he was so hot. Like he's not now. He is not.
Right.
I pray that does not happen to me with age. John Travolta was a heartthrob, and now you see him now, and it's just like, fuck.
I know. And now he's like, Adele Dazeem doesn't know what Taylor Swift looks like, and
he's a hot mess. They need to just let him retire.
He was hot before.
Now he's a
hot mess.
He's just a mess. So, why is this your favorite episode of the series?
Sure. So on Twitter, like there was a post on Twitter a couple like weeks ago, and I copied it and I put it on my wall on Facebook, and it was from some TV writer, and it was like, name a perfect episode of television. And immediately the first thing I thought of was the Bracebridge Dinner. And it's for a couple of reasons. So one of the things that I love about Gilmore Girls is I love anything where it's like you see all of all the periphery characters interact. So there's a lot of stuff with the town. I love towny stuff. I love anything where the town has like a crazy festival or is doing a pageant of some sort, or they have like in season 3, they do like a 50s themed dance marathon to raise money to build a bridge or something like that. So anything towny related, I love, because it's just so crazy and wackadoo. And the idea of like living in a small town like that where everybody knows your business and all of that stuff is really great. So towny stuff, first of all. The second thing is that this is one of the first episodes where all of the like top billed cast are in the same room interacting at the same event. So you have like, Lorelai and Rory, but then you also get Michelle and Sookie, and you have Mr. and Mrs. Gilmore. They're just all there because usually they're all in separate places. And so this is a fun way to like bring that all together. Luke is there, Jess is there, Paris even. So this is a way for like them to have like a group scene together that's not like a town meeting or something. And the thing about it too is that's like it just reeks of the holidays. Like it's as soon as the weather changes, I start to like I put this episode on because it's just one of those, again, warm blanket of a show, and it's just so comforting and like fun and crazy. So that's the main reasons why I picked this particular episode of Gilmore Girls as a perfect one.
Yeah, absolutely. I know it did put me in that like Christmas spirit because I personally love Christmas. And it's kind of like how you said you put it on like once that season starts approaching. I'm like that with the Chrismica episode of the OC.
Yep. Mm-hmm. That was another episode. So when I was thinking about episodes to do for the show, I was like, well, it's either one of the Chrismica episodes at the OC, an episode of Frasier, or it's the Gilmore Girls.
Yes. Well, so that means we're just going to have you again so we can discuss the Chrismica episodes. Like,
see, what's funny is that a lot of people for December, they like to do like movies, like they have their holiday movies. And see, for me, I like to watch special episodes of television.
Yep.
So it's like It's always all the Christmas episodes plus like the Festivus episode of Seinfeld, the Thanksgiving episodes for Friends, and then anything holiday related. And
Yes.
the other thing I like about this episode for the Bracebridge dinner is that it obviously takes place in the winter. It obviously takes place during the holidays, but there really is no specific mention of Christmas or any particular winter holiday.
Right.
So I feel like it can just go across for people. It's just like that general,
Yeah, just
you
like the
know,
seat, like the holidays, but you don't know. It could have been in January.
exactly. And like, you know, and then you have the thing too, and I was thinking about this because I was like, oh, you probably haven't seen it. You probably haven't like watched the series. So, you know, there's you can sense the conflict in the other things that are happening
Hmm.
between Rory and her father and Lorelai, who have a whole history into themselves.
Right.
Richard retiring, and there's some fun episodes where Richard's retired coming up later. Like it's just you can get those little nuggets of conflict throughout too.
Totally, totally. And I would just like to quick note because I actually wrote this down that Luke and Jess are so hot. I love the actor that plays Jess. Milo.
Oh yes,
What's his last name?
Milo Ventimiglia.
Yeah. So I don't know if you watch This Is Us, but he plays Jack on This Is Us. Total
Well, I
heartthrob.
mean, is it not like mandatory for everyone who lives in like Pennsylvania to
To
watch
watch
This Is
that, I
Us?
know. Although I have to be honest, I
Um,
kind of fell off. It's kind of like I was definitely not as into it the new seasons as I was when it first came out. But yeah, those two are total heartthrobs, and I'm confused a little bit, and maybe you can explain. Are they father and son?
No, so okay, so what happens is that season one we get into Jess's or get into Rory's relationship with her first boyfriend, Dean. And Dean is the ideal like first boyfriend, mother's dream.
Hmm.
He doesn't go to the same school as her. He goes to school in Stars Hollow, and there's conflict there because he's not of that like witch prep school, world. But in season two, Luke's sister, who we don't see, basically is this like kind of screw up, kind of like has like multiple marriages, but she has this kid who's kind of a hell on wheels and couldn't take care of him. So she does that Fresh Prince of Bel Air thing, but instead of sending him to Bel Air, she sends him to Stars Hollow to live with Luke to try to get some boundaries because she's off doing God knows whatever. So Jess is now this like brooding outsider guy who lives and works at the diner with Luke. And so he's Luke's nephew.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I was getting confused there because when him and Lorelai are in the sleigh together and they're like talking about like his mom, and I'm like, maybe it was like a situation where like he didn't know about Jess, and then all of a sudden, like how they do that in shows, and then all of a sudden your kid just appears when he's like 18 years old. I didn't know if it was like that
Exactly.
kind of thing. So I like
Now,
purposely wrote that down to be like, can you please confirm what they are because I'm really not sure.
so I'm not gonna spoil it too much, but you want to hold on to the like surprise bonus child thing with Luke because it
Okay.
comes up much later in the series.
Okay.
So just keep that in your mind.
Okay. Yes. Melissa McCarthy being in this show. I'm personally not a fan of Melissa McCarthy. I actually
That's fair.
wrote down pre being in every not funny comedy Melissa McCarthy. But her character was annoying as shit. Is Sookie always like that?
Yeah.
I don't know if I
So
just feel that way because I don't like Melissa McCarthy. Like if she's really that like agitating in the show, or if it's just me being biased because I don't like her as an actress.
So okay, so Suki in this show has like two of my favorite jokes in like two of my favorite jokes in the show and perhaps like in the series. So she has the first one is I'm mad and I'm sad. I'm smad. Like that is great. And then she has I got pumpkin hands. So those two things love. But yes, she is supposed to be this kind of like she's a genius, like it's never questioned that she is this genius of a chef, and somehow like she like works at this small country inn in nowhere Connecticut, but she is also very like loopy and fun chef. Instead of chef whites, she's wearing like all these really fun like chef uniform
Mm-hmm.
patterns. And but yeah, she's exactly like that the entire series, and she's just she's really fun. And the thing about it too is that like this is this is an obvious like, I don't know what happened. Maybe it was like after having a couple kids and age or whatever, but like her register of her voice is a lot higher during the Gilmore Girls reign than like once post Gilmore Girls, when we get into like Bridesmaids and The Heat and all of
Mm-hmm.
that stuff, where it's like she has that lower octave.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and I feel like that for me is like, okay, like Melissa McCarthy is completely separate from like Suki St. James.
Right. Right. They're
So
two totally different people, but not
yeah.
really. But yeah, you know what I mean.
Julie, what else did you like about this episode?
um, I mean, so
Because I
it
want to
was.
know also what you didn't like.
So I actually enjoyed watching it. I think sometimes, and this kind of like the whole point of this podcast is sometimes it's hard for me to like fully enjoy something when I don't know what's going on. Like I'm like I don't like know like who this person is, or like if they're a main character. Like one of the things I wrote down is Paris like a main character, or is she like only like pop up randomly throughout the series? Which we can get back to that. But I really like Lorelai, and I thought if I watched the show all the time, she would easily be my favorite character. And I really just like the relationship that her and Rory have. Like they're just like super close, like I almost said mom and dad, daughter and mom relationship. And it just seems like they have like a very like open communication, and they're more of like best friends than they are mother daughter. And I like that.
Yeah, and that really like plays out because the thing about Lorelai is that like she raised Rory like the way that she wanted to be raised,
Hmm.
and she with like as many with restrictions and boundaries, but also at the same time like with a lot of freedom.
Right.
And it this is a good episode to like have as a one of the foundational episodes, because as you go on later in the series, that there's the central conflict that ends up happening is what happens when she has to play the mom card
Hmm.
over the best friend card,
Yep.
because it's not something that she's used to, and it's not something that she likes doing, but like it's a point where like she knows that she knows better.
Right.
So how do you do that?
Right.
um
Right. And I'm
and Paris is one of my favorite characters.
so
Absolutely.
she's like kind of a main character.
Yeah. So
Okay.
Paris is like a main character. She basically, at this point in high school at Chilton, she plays Rory's rival. Well, she has this imagined rivalry in her head because she was the best. She was the hot stuff, hot ticket. And now Rory comes in, and Rory, who like transferred from a different school, public school, is like lapping her. So it's one of those, she feels threatened because of it. And so don't tell my sister this, but I totally thought that my sister had like she was Rory, and then like one of her friends was Paris in high school. And I was
Amazing.
like, well, you know that she's Paris, you know that you're Rory, and she's just like saying this mean things to you because she's afraid of you.
Yeah. That happens more frequently than not, I feel like. Like a lot of people like, and sometimes I mean I'm gonna assume, and you can correct me if I'm wrong because I could be wrong, but I'm gonna assume they grow up to be close friends.
So yes, Rory and Paris end up becoming really good friends. Like Paris is in it till the very end, so she is a regular character
Okay.
all the way up until the very end. And that's kind of a spoiler for season 3 stuff, but we won't go into it. But
Hmm.
and the thing about it is too is that they form it's that kind of closeness that comes with knowing someone for so long, because they do go to college together and they're doing all these things together. But like at the same time, it's just we all have that friend that like is there for us no matter what, but also kind of drives us crazy.
Hmm. Yep.
And like sometimes you need some distance from that person, but you also know that they're always there. So
Yeah, and they end up
that's one
being
of the
like
things. There's
the best friend that you
exactly.
have. So
Exactly. So they're setting it up in the thing about these early seasons is that they set that up where it starts out as this rivalry and then they go through a lot in high school that eventually gets them to be like these really close friends. There's another great episode of this show that's called Girls in Bikinis, Boys Doing the Twist. It's in season 4 and it's Rory and Paris at college but on spring break, and the two of them are like these bookish quote unquote book smart girls who like never partied, so now they've given themselves permission to party, and what happens, and it's great. The Strokes show up as it was at the time, I think it was the WB or the CW, I don't know when they changed, but they had like One Tree Hill, it's like, here's a band like just here's like 3 minutes of a band playing.
yes.
Like that happens in that episode. So
oh my god, amazing.
I love Gilmore Girls.
Yeah. Well,
This
I
is
would
all
assume
in
so,
me
right?
every time I do the horror podcast. It's like I have
You're like, don't talk about
Rory
Gilmore
and
Girls. Don't talk about Gilmore
exactly
Girls.
Lorelai. We actually created like this really like 3-minute long ad where it's like kind of has the Gilmore Girls reference in it. So
Yeah.
I have to show that to you later.
Yes, please do. Matt will probably kill me for this, and because I'm the queen of going off topic. But I actually wrote this down, and it has nothing to do with the episode. But I'm just curious because you said you love like the towny shows. Have you ever seen Heart of Dixie?
No.
Because that's like a towny show, and that's immediately what I thought of when you were saying that you love like the towny shows.
So here's the thing. It often gets recommended for me, obviously, because I watch Gilmore Girls. But the thing is that I don't really like Rachel Bilson.
Oh my god!
I
What? I just took a
know.
sip of my water and I had to swallow as fast as I could because I freaking
Here's
love Rachel Bilson.
Here's the thing about Rachel Bilson, right? She was perfect as Summer.
Oh God, I love her. Summer
But
and
like, I mean, if we're going to like, I often confuse her with Mila Kunis, and I prefer Mila Kunis over Rachel Bilson.
Yeah.
But like, the thing about it is just like, I mean, she was great in that that like teleportation movie with Hayden Christensen.
That
I think
that
that was
ended
Rachel
up being
Bilson.
her husband, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
actually, yes. I think they got married in real life.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not really here for her because like Summer was my least favorite character in the
You
OC,
liked
and
Marissa over Summer.
I like Caleb over Summer. Are we in a fight now?
Damn, I know. Get off my podcast and don't come back. No, I'm just kidding.
Summer was terrible. Summer was awful to Seth, and she only liked him when like never mind. I'm not gonna get into it.
No, this is what I do.
I'm-
I get people off topic. It's so bad, but
But I tell you what, Summer, like again, I'm not really here for Rachel Bilson, and maybe it's because I don't like Summer. But again, like if we're going to pick actresses that kind of between her and Mila Kunis, I'm all about Mila Kunis.
heck yeah.
So
Love Mila Kunis.
I just pretend that Mila Kunis, I just put her in the place of anything that Rachel Bilson's in.
Okay.
But
So when
There
you
you
do
go.
watch Heart of Dixie, you're gonna be like, "Oh my god, Mila Kunis is so good in the show."
exactly.
Well, I mean, I guess I won't be too mad at you because I did just shit on Melissa McCarthy, and then you like basically said she was one of your favorite characters in the show. So
Well, Suki is one of my favorite characters, but again, like Suki is different from like Melissa. And when they did
Mel, you know Mel.
exactly, Mel. Mel M, the thing I like about the show is that they worked in her pregnancy into the plot of the show,
Spoiler.
which was great for her. But when they were doing the reboot, Gilmore Girls: A Year in the Life on Netflix, she like wasn't gonna come back, and then they tried to get her to come back, and they only have like Suki comes in for like literally 10 minutes at the last episode, and she's supposed to be like Lorelai's best friend, and that was kind of one of the sour things for me in the reboot, because they're so close in the show and she has all the screen time. But I think with Suki, you can really see her like chops as a comedic improviser, because she was a groundling, and you just like see how fun she is, but like two completely separate things. Like all of Melissa McCarthy's career post Gilmore Girls is like a completely separate book from Gilmore Girls itself.
So the reboot happened, right?
The reboot did happen. Yeah,
and is it what on Netflix?
It's on Netflix, so it's 4 90-minute episodes that take place around the seasons.
Okay.
So there's winter, spring, summer, fall.
Okay.
And I think it goes fall, winter, summer, spring, or maybe, the reverse. I'm not. Oh, I think it's winter, spring, summer, fall, just like the Carole King song.
Just like the seasons.
Exactly, just like the seasons. And yes. And basically,
I love that you thought of the song. Like,
I know. Well, no, that's the thing, is that because it's a Carole King song, I was like, oh, like winter, spring, summer, fall. I mean, Amy Sherman Palladino is a genius, right? And so so they're 90-minute episodes, and I legit, like, midnight when they were released. It was released in like November of 2016.
You like called out of work.
I was on because it was over Thanksgiving, so I was already off, and I was like, it was midnight, and I watched the first episode, and then I like fell asleep, and then 3 hours later woke back up and knocked that whole thing out.
You're amazing. I just want you to know that. That's
yeah,
amazing.
well, because so what kind of also like fueled the Gilmore Girls reboot is that there was a couple things. So what fueled the Gilmore Girls reboot was at the ATX television festival in Austin, Texas. They had a cast. They had a full cast reunion at the festival, and they had everybody there except for Richard Herman, who played Richard Gilmore. He had passed away. He had actually passed away like shortly before they were supposed to be getting together. So. And he was always one who really wanted them to do something again. He wanted them to do the reboot again.
Oh,
so
that's really sad.
Right, I know. And they deal with his death in the show, which is really great because it deserves that kind of moment. So that happened, and then so when that happened, also at the same time, there was a podcast that came out called The Gilmore Guys, which is two guys, Kevin Porter and Demi Adejuyigbe, who basically did the same concept as Fright School, only with Gilmore Girls. Like, one guy watched them live and like was one of those people who like went on like message boards to like talk about the different episodes, and then the other guy had no idea what was going on with any of that. So the popularity of that podcast blew up so much. They got people on the show, on the cast, to come on and talk. It blew up so much that it was one of the driving forces for them to even like get any buzz to do a reboot.
Okay.
So power of podcasting.
You are the king of Gilmore Girls. You know everything.
I was just like, and here's the thing. I was like, you know what? I was like, I feel like I should have more notes, but I also feel like there's just a lot of that in my head already.
Yeah.
So.
No, I'm going to be honest. I didn't have that many notes when I was watching it. But I kind of figured that this was one of those shows where like, you really don't need a lot of notes because it's such a big series. I think every season has like over 20 episodes, if I saw that correctly. So there's just like so much that you can talk about and like lead into other stuff that happens in the series where like one episode, you're not going to have like a page, at least like for me, I didn't have like a page full of notes. But I don't know if you were, ignoring me in the sense of like, shut the fuck up, don't embarrass me. But I did ask you if you cried the episode where they acknowledged that Richard was dead in real life.
Mm-hmm.
Did you cry?
Oh,
yes. You cried?
No. I mean,
see, I'm a crier.
I'm not a crier. I get emotional, and but it takes a lot for me to cry. Like, I can count in the last 10 years. I can count on one hand the times I've actually like sobbed tears
from in general or from a
in
show?
General.
Oh, God.
I know I'm pretty. I like to say I'm just like cold and dead inside.
Oh,
and I need things like Gilmore Girls to like remind me that I'm human and can feel things. It's not the horror films, I promise. It's just how I am, and maybe that's why I'm like loving horror. But no, I didn't cry.
Oh my gosh.
It's very. when you do, because you are going to be a Gilmore Girls fan after this,
I believe it.
when you do get to it, and first of all, you live in an area where you actually have like all the seasons, so it's very interesting when you're like a Southern California kid and you're not and you don't get all the seasons, that the moment it's like overcast and kind of breezy in the middle of January, you feel like, I'm gonna have soup and I'm gonna have Gilmore Girls and get my seasons. One leaf fell to the ground.
So was one of the times that you sobbed when you found out that you didn't have access to all the seasons?
That that was
Yes, that was one of the times. Tell the truth.
I legit, so here's the thing. So my sister, actually, my younger sister, she was the original kind of Gilmore Girls fan. Like,
Okay.
I didn't get the show. It wasn't until it got on Netflix that I was like, oh, like I now have access to everything. I can binge it all. It was weird because, like, in fact, I actually bought her the deluxe box set of Gilmore Girls for Christmas one year, and this was like the deluxe box set that looked like a dollhouse, that had like a booklet in it that was like a 60-page booklet of all of the pop
Episodes.
culture
Yeah.
references that are made in every episode.
Oh my God. That's
I know
cool.
it's hard to find now. It's like it's so expensive now, but
A
I
lot
remember
of
buying that for
series
her.
are like
Yeah.
I own this like complete series of such weird shows. Like I have the complete series of the OC on DVD,
So do I.
and I don't even have a DVD player. And I have the full seasons of Laguna Beach.
The real OC, yes.
Yes, the real OC. And
Do you have the trifecta? Do you have
Gossip Girl.
season 1? Oh, of course.
Like the
Of course.
and then
Do you have the trifecta of the OC related shows from that era where it's season 1 of the Real Housewives of the OC?
No.
It's fine because it's trash, so you don't
Yeah.
need to have it.
But I do in the episode. So I have Laguna Beach the series on DVD, and it always makes me laugh. Like, so did you watch Laguna Beach, or am I just like an asshole?
No, I did not watch
Oh,
Laguna
damn it.
Beach.
Okay.
I was also like, every time it was on, like on TV randomly, if I was with someone, I would watch it because, you know, at the time when that show came out, I was not out, so I was just like, oh, you know,
Yeah. No, this
it's
show's
like,
not even that good.
who was the guy with the beard that golfed in the
Are you asking me?
Yes, he
It's
was like
Jason?
a guy. I think it was Jason.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, Jason's very pretty.
Yeah.
Like, look, he's wearing like tennis shoes at a golf course, and you know.
You're like, oh, this show sucks, and then you get in your car and you're like, let the rain fall down.
Exactly. It's like, cause I want. Don't even get me started. See, these are things I cannot do on my show. That like. I was like, I'm jumping at the chance to do anything but horror these days.
I know. I bet.
So let me ask you this. Were there
Sure.
things that you didn't like about the episode or you found strange?
No, I mean, I was a little confused. So does Lorelai own that like hotel place that they had the dinner overnight? Like, what does Lorelai do for a living?
Sure. So we find out in season 1 that when she moved to Stars Hollow with a newborn baby, that the owner of that inn, so that's the Independence Inn, so the owner of that inn took pity on her and let her live in like the horse shed or whatever, like this, like, you know,
So nice.
shed in the back of the like inn, and she worked there as a maid. And then basically she worked her way up from being the maid to being basically the general manager.
Okay.
So
she doesn't
this
own
is-
it, but she's like pretty high up and
exactly. So she's pretty high up. She like is basically the boss. And Mia, who owns the inn, who is a character that comes like, you know, is very. She's actually played by 2 different actresses, which is, you know, in the course of the series, which kind of bugged me. But
I know, I hate that. They just act like you're not going to notice.
exactly,
It's like the
especially
worst.
like. Exactly. I'm just like, of course we notice, especially when it's Kristen Scott Thomas in season 6. And anyway, long story short. So yeah, she's a general manager. She does eventually open her own inn later in the series, and that's a whole thing. That's actually my favorite season of Gilmore Girls is season 4 when Rory goes to college and she's opening up the inn. because it's the most growth that you see of the two ladies. Um, but yeah, so there's this they she opens up her own inn later, but in this particular instance, she's just the general manager of the Independence Inn.
Got it. That party
Um,
looked fun. Like I kind of had
right
like FOMO watching. Like I was like, oh, I wish someone would do that
N-
here.
now I know like it's television, right? So suspension of disbelief, but do you how much do you think it A cost, and B, like, do you think the Bracebridge group got really upset that
Well, and that's the thing
someone
that killed me. The one part, like they're the snowstorm, they can't come, and they're like, yeah, but I mean, like they already paid, so it's fine. And it's just like, so we don't refund them. We're just like, we're gonna have the party instead, with our friends. Thank you for covering the head count.
exactly? And so like, okay, so
So
my
like,
day
I would
job,
be pissed. I would be pissed.
right, you're just eating all this fancy food, and it's like all of your towny friends.
Yep.
My my day job is I'm an event planner, right? So I plan events, and I can tell you right now that if there is a clause in a contract that if there's an act of God that prevents us from the event happening, that you either A, get a portion or all of the money back.
Yeah.
But like, so in this situation, it's like, how could you not have that when you live in a place where like weather is definitely a factor in travel?
I know.
Um,
Well, and you
and
know, in
yeah,
today's times, like if this was real, I would be 1,000% charging Lorelai Gilmore's ass on Venmo for my money back for the plate that I paid for. You know?
exactly. And especially because like they bought out the inn, which like I used to work at a hotel. So it's like that in and of itself, you probably couldn't get back. Like all of the stuff for the hotel, those were rooms that they held for you that you couldn't sell back. So,
Hmm.
you know, you probably lost your room revenue, your room payment. But like for the food and stuff, like, I mean, I guess that's also a loss too, but like it's not their fault. Like
Yeah.
they were snowed in, not their fault. I probably would have been like, maybe we shouldn't. I would have been, hey, everybody, don't post about this. We're
Yeah.
just gonna do
Yeah.
this.
We're just gonna
Don't
say it
tell
was
the
canceled.
owner.
Shh. Yeah.
Exactly.
And then everyone gets a free sleigh ride too.
Exactly. And a free sleigh ride. And I'm just like, okay.
All right.
So
So
yeah,
it
that was one of the things that bothered me about this. Is like, this is a lot of money. I can't
yeah,
believe
this
no
is
one said
very
anything.
unrealistic. I understand it's a TV show, but I'm annoyed.
Exactly.
So it's about time for me to get off topic. So, quick question about you working at a hotel. Did
Yeah.
you work at the hotel during American Horror Season Hotel?
I did not. I don't think I did. Wait, was that what year did that come out?
Um, I want to say, let me think. It was probably 2017
Oh yeah, I was already gone. So I
Okay.
was not at a hotel.
because that season's a little creepy, right?
But I did work the hotel I worked at was a haunted hotel,
Oh,
which
so you
I was glad
basically,
I didn't work.
yeah.
Yeah, so basically, but
Was it the
the
hotel that was in California that it's based off of?
not the Hotel California.
No,
No,
it
it's
wasn't the
not.
hotel. No, not. It's not called. I forget what it's
But
called.
not it's not the hotel that it's based on, the
Oh,
one
oh
where the
my
girl
god.
went missing or whatever.
Yeah. What
My
was that hotel
hotel
called?
is have you ever seen the movie Some Like It Hot?
No.
It's
Matt,
with Marilyn
producer Matt
Monroe.
did though, because he's nodding over across from me. So.
Awesome. So that's the hotel I worked at. So the hotel they stay in is with Marilyn Monroe and Jack Lemmon
Oh,
and
that's cool.
Tony Curtis. That's the hotel. It's like over 130 years old. But I used to work there for like 4 years. And
Nice.
it's a haunted hotel, so like people would always come in trying to like do ghost hunter
Oh
stuff. And
Christ. Did
so glad I did
anything
not work at a
spooky
hotel.
ever happen to you? Wait. So you didn't work in it? You worked for it?
I was a concierge and a front desk manager, so I actually worked in the old building. And I actually have been in the haunted room many times and
Oh, it's
stayed on
just
its
one
floor.
room.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
it's one room, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's always booked because everyone wants to stay and have an experience with a ghost. And
Do they really have experiences?
some people think they do. And that's the nicest way of putting it.
Yeah.
What we never really told the guests was that a lot of the strange haunty kind of stuff, all of that stuff happened like where where her body was found, because like the ghost killed herself,
Mm.
and where her body was found is where the spa is, and the spa is like underground. So like people who would open the spa in the morning would get like really would say that like
Like
sometimes they would
paranormal
see
shit.
people.
Yeah.
Exactly. They would
Ugh.
like, there's like, housekeeping ladies that won't go into certain places because they're just scared of the ghost coming, and
Yeah.
they're just scared of spirits. And
Mm. Yeah, I would not be doing that shit. Leave the spirits where they
yeah.
belong.
So,
Another. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. What were you gonna
no,
say?
no, go for it. Go for it.
I was gonna say another quick note. That I probably should have brought up in the beginning when I had that really, really not corny, funny pun about where you lead, I will follow. That was funny, wasn't it? That song is amazing.
I mean, do you want to like, absolutely, because it's so good. And the I could say,
Oh yeah, or
what's
you could
funny
sing
is
it. I
that
mean, it's up to you. Whatever you
what's
think. Whatever you think works
uh
best. You did just crush Hillary Duff 5 minutes ago, so
oh, I know, as Hillary's in my range, in my repertoire. So with that song, right? So like when I actually heard the full song many years later, off of the Tapestry album by Carole King, I was like, oh, she's talking about a lover. But like, I was like,
oh,
I just thought it was so interesting because she, in the way that they did it for the
it's
show,
like
is
daughter
that
mother.
exactly, and
Yeah.
that's her actual daughter, Louise Goffin, who is her daughter with Jerry Goffin. That's her singing. It's Carole King and Louise singing together, so
Oh,
it's mother and daughter as well.
huh.
And fun fact, Carole King is a character in the town later in the series.
Hmm.
She plays
Interesting.
a person who opens up a music store, and she's kind of a grumpy character.
Yeah, yeah. I love when they throw like producers and stuff in movies or shows, and it's just like, hey, we know
Oh
you.
yeah, if you like
Surprise.
the Palladinos, Amy Sherman Palladino and Daniel Palladino, they love like the music, and it's just kind of woven in there. So there's this episode where in the season finale of one of the seasons, there's like the town gets overrun by like buskers and like troubadours. So there's like all these people who come in, and they're all like famous musicians, just like, singing a guitar or playing on a keyboard these random songs. um I think like the lead singer of Sonic Youth is there, and like it's really fun for people who know those kinds of bands.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
I It's not Hillary Duff,
Yeah.
so I don't
So
know who those people are.
yeah, I mean, if it's not Hillary, does it really matter? Not really. Love her. Anyways, um, who is your favorite character of the show?
Oh, um,
And if you say Sookie, I'm gonna snap.
it's not
Or is it
really
Suki? What is her
Suki.
name? Is it Sookie?
I say, well, they always say Suki,
Suki.
Suki, and then I watched all of True Blood,
Yeah.
so
Yep.
it's
That's why I'm
hard.
saying Sookie too.
Yeah, it's hard to not say Suki, and
Yeah.
like Beale. Sorry, I had to. Anytime you say Suki, you have to say Beale. So if I had to say my favorite character overall, I would probably, of the characters, let's put it this way, of the characters that have been seen, I think my favorite character is, I love the Gilmores. Like I love everything with them because they're just so set in their ways, and they just have more money than God, and they just have like, they can't get out of their mind this daughter that they raised,
Mm-hmm.
who
Who's
is
so
like
different than them?
who is so different from them, and they are just so unyielding, and of like, they just, they can't fathom it. And I love Emily. I think Emily is my favorite overall, just because she has a lot of really funny moments, and a lot of the really emotional, like tender moments of the series come from Emily and Lorelai, and Emily and Richard. um so like, I think Emily, just overall as a character. Paris is a close second, just because she's also just nuts, bananas, insane. Um, and which is funny, because like, I would expect, people would expect me to say like either Lorelai or Rory, but I think with I think when it comes to the show itself, if I think about the things that I like um, connect with and really um, love and are hilarious to me, it's all the stuff with the Gilmores. So Emily and Richard, probably my favorites.
Yeah, I felt like it was pretty generic for me to say Lorelai was my favorite because, like you said, I'm sure everyone either picks one or the other. But I just loved her from this episode. She seems like she's so corny, and I'm super corny, so I think that's why I liked her so much. Like the scene where they're on the sleigh and it's her and Luke's like, the horses are beautiful, and she's like, yeah, like they have great butts, don't they? Like the view that we have right now, they have great butts, and he's just like the whole time he's just like, just stop, that's what I didn't mean, like stop. And she just like kept like picking at it, so I felt like I could relate to her in that annoying aspect because I would do
How do
something
you
like
feel?
that.
How do you feel about Lorelai and Luke?
I'm gonna assume at some point they date.
Some point, yes.
Yeah.
They are destined for each other.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
he is
like
so
in that
handsome.
moment, how do you feel? Oh, you so okay, okay.
You don't think? I think he's handsome.
Well, I mean, I'm all about Milo.
God, I
I'm all
know.
about Jess.
Heartthrob. Can you tell me? Don't tell me who, but can you tell me if um does Rory get married at the end of the show? Like, is she
No,
married? No, she's not married. Is she dating
no,
anyone at the end of the show?
no.
Oh, okay. So
At the
she
very end
doesn't.
of the show,
Yeah, like she doesn't end up with Dean or Jess. She probably has a new
no,
love interest at some point.
no.
Okay, that's really disappointing. I was really rooting for
Um,
Jess.
well, just
Tell me like
you
Jess
have to
dies or
watch it.
something. Oh my god.
You have to. Let's just put it this way: Rory is destined to be a lot like her mother
Mm-hmm.
in various ways. Let's put
She
it that
gets
way.
pregnant and becomes a maid. Is that the ending?
Exactly. When it comes to relationships specifically,
Yeah.
because like Rory. Well, this is not a spoiler, but like Lorelai, her like mythical almost love is Christopher, Rory's father. They were high school kids, but when they had her. But so in a similar way, that's what Jess kind of becomes.
Okay. Okay.
And also like the thing about Jess is that he is the only person in the town that he really talks to outside of Luke is Rory. And he is brilliant and has all of this. It's one of those things where it's like you have all this potential. You just are like, for whatever reason, have this chip on your shoulder and think you're above everybody,
Right.
which is the frustrating thing about Jess. But it's where you see that tenderness and where like and those that tenderness that he has with Rory in later episodes, that also is kind of the tenderness that Jack has with Mandy Moore in
This is
uh
us.
in This Is Us.
Yeah. Oh god, he just got better with age.
Yes, he did. He got
Yeah.
hotter
Oh.
and like yes.
Even him with that like 90s like porn, or not 90s. What am I talking about? What would it be, like 70s porn stash?
Mm-hmm.
Still
70s,
hot.
80s, yeah.
Still would do it.
I was like, yes, Dad. Yes,
Yeah.
Dad.
I know, God, so
I'm sure
freaking
no one's
hot.
ever said that on a podcast that Matt has produced. Is
Yeah.
yes,
I know
Dad.
Matt is extremely uncomfortable right now.
Maybe Disneydos.
He's getting squirmy in his chair. He's getting so squirmy. It's hilarious to watch, honestly. So that's about it for what I have. Is there anything additional that you want to talk about?
um
I know you said you didn't
so
really have many notes.
well, I will mention that there is an actual Bracebridge dinner that you can pay money to go attend at Yellowstone National Park.
Yeah.
I looked into it once. I was like, this would be amazing. So
So
I think it's Yellowstone.
are you gonna do it, or have you done it?
No, I've not done it, and I just I don't know because it's like it's very expensive.
Yeah.
But
Just like all good things.
and some people like what they like to do is that for their like friendsgivings, they'll have like their own kind of Bracebridge dinner type things.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Once
actually never had a Friendsgiving. I really would like to have one. So now that I'm just
there,
like a big Gilmore Girls fan from this episode, I'm going to have
exactly.
one this year.
You
You can
just
come.
invite all your crazy friends from the town.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm going to do it.
Um, Let me ask you this, right? So if you were to do like a Bracebridge dinner type thing with your friends,
Hmm.
what like it wouldn't have to be the same time period, it doesn't have to be like, Washington Irving, or whatever what Suki says, but what do you think the theme would be?
Good question. Let me think for a second.
Okay. Because I've often thought about this myself, and I don't think I would do the same way that they did,
No,
but
I
I would
would
do
definitely not.
some sort of theme, like maybe costume party, Friendsgiving,
Yeah. Oh, costume party would be good. I'm trying to think of like what would be fun for like people to like dress up as, but
and then
what
eat food
hasn't
from
been
that time
over.
period.
Yeah, but what hasn't been like overdone. I'm kind of envisioning like the Last Supper. That's what
Is
I'm
that the title of this
seeing.
episode, The Last
Yeah,
Supper?
yes. No, that's what I'm envisioning. Like, speaker. Like, how they had like the
The
main
like
guy.
central figure.
Yeah, would be Jesus. And
It's like I've fed all of you, and now one of you is about to betray me.
I mean, that painting, when you look at that painting, you're like, oh my God, I would
Yeah.
love to eat that food. At
Yeah,
least I have that
exactly.
mindset.
It's
So
like
yeah,
bread and oysters and fish. Come on.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Bread and wine, just like every
Yes,
Sunday at church.
exactly.
Yeah, so I think that's my answer. So no
It's the Last
copying.
Supper.
What's yours?
I love it.
What's yours?
Mine would probably be see, I automatically go to like 1960s, like Mad Men, just because I think it would be fun to have like a cocktail party that like Emily and Richard would like what would their kind of formal dinner be? So that's kind of immediately where I go, is to have that kind of, have like classic cocktails and make like insane 60s recipes.
Yeah. Yeah, I could be down
Um,
for that. Will you invite me?
yes,
Thank you.
absolutely.
I've never been to California, so I'll just use that as a reason to go.
Well, come on down.
Yeah.
Come on down. I need to be careful because I know that Joshua has an extra bedroom, and I always say you could stay in Joshua's bedroom. I don't live with him, and but
He's like, can you please stop saying
it's
that?
there. Exactly. Can you please stop telling random people that they can stay with me? And I'm like, sure.
Yeah. But I'm going to bring it up again. So you
Yeah,
can stay with
exactly.
Joshua.
And he will not listen to this. Like, trust me, he will not listen.
Well, what you
This is
should
about the
do
Gilmore
is just like
Girls.
take pictures of his spare bedroom and then make it an Airbnb.
I'm there enough that I could probably manage that.
He would never know unless he listens to this podcast. Lesson learned.
Exactly.
You better listen,
But yes, so Joshua's never going to listen to this.
Yeah.
So this will be our side hustle, okay?
Yes. Yes. Check it out. Airbnb app. Probably in the next
Yes.
month. We'll give you time to take some
Exactly.
good
We'll give you time.
pictures. So, yeah. But it looks like I'll be crashing with Joshua. I think that about wraps it up for today. Thank you so much, Joe, for coming on the show today.
Well, thank you for having me.
And everyone,
I am.
Go ahead.
Oh, and I'm happy to talk about anything that's not horror, that's warm and fuzzy, and I'd love to come back if you'll have me.
Yes. Oh, Joe, you will be back. You will be back. And for everyone listening, again, reminder to check out Joe's podcast, Fright School. I mean, come on, don't you love this guy already? How can you not?
Polar
listen?
opposite.
I mean, fuck Joshua,
everything.
because Joshua won't listen to my podcast. But it's all about Joe, and that's all that matters. So thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network. You're listening to the Geekscape Network.